Pokemon Emerald's rival is terrible. They never fully evolve their starter, even on their final team of just 4 Pokemon, and even worse is their utterly flat character arc. This is a tragedy that today we'll be fixing as part of our ongoing series to make the ultimate Pokemon Emerald ROM hack. And if you want to enter a giveaway to win one of 10 physical copies of said ROM hack, all you have to do is subscribe and watch to the end. Now, this video has 4 parts: an analysis of the main rival, a look at the real rival, the changes we'll be making to their storylines, and finally changes we'll be making to their teams. Part 1 is an analysis of the rival. So in Pokemon Emerald, the main rival changes based on the gender chosen by the player, resulting in the rival either being Brendan or May. For the sake of this analysis, Brendan and May are effectively and basically entirely the exact same people, so we'll just refer to this group character as the main rival. We first meet them in Little Root Town, where they tell us they have a dream of becoming friends with Pokemon all over the world. We first battle them on Route 103, and upon beating them and returning to Professor Birch's lab, they say they're going to look all over to find different Pokemon. From the very start, it's clear that their main focus is not on competitive Pokemon battling. We then see them in Rustboro after acquiring our very first badge. This fight's also really noteworthy because there's actually an error on one of the teams. If you are playing as a male and you selected Torchic, for some reason your rival May will have a Torkoal here. All the other teams don't have anything near this strong. Like even Brendan's team with Mudkip doesn't have Torkoal, it's just a Slugma. May's also never seen with a Torkoal again, and this is just like one really weird design oversight, I guess, or I guess just utter failure. Now, during this encounter, May asks how your Pokedex is coming along, while Brendan mentions that he went on a Pokemon catching frenzy in Petalburg Woods. Sure, Brendan, whatever you say. Now, our third rival encounter is on Route 110 for a non-negotiable battle where May mentions she was looking for more Pokemon. These teams have a second stage starter along with a combination of Wingull, Lombre, and Slugma to complete the elemental trio. And upon being defeated, they note that you've been training hard and they give you the item finder. We then briefly see them in Lavaridge where they give us the Desert Go goggles. Here, the rival says we're a good trainer, not because of the Pokemon we caught, but because of our training. Route 119 below Fortree then sees the 4th battle and a team that looks mistakably the same to the Route 110 fight. Now sure, with an evolved Pelipper, the Combusken team is looking good. The Marshtomp team, however, has no water moves, while both this and the Sceptile team see no evolutions or party changes from the last fight. And worse is, outside of explaining the TM Fly, there's really no dialogue here. Like, there is no character growth, no real anything other than just an NPC filling the role of giving the character an item. Now finally, Lilycove gives us the climactic ending to this character arc, an optional 4 Pokemon battle, which, as stated, doesn't even show off the starter's final stage. It's bad. The Combusken team has Water Grass Ludicolo, Water Flying Pelipper, and then Grass Flying Tropius as its 4th. The Marshtomp-led team feels slightly better with Tropius and Ludicolo, but also still has an unevolved Slugma. Meanwhile, the Grovyle-led team has Tropius, Pelipper, and Slugma. There's something about these odd overlapping dual types that just like makes me stressed. I don't know if someone in the comment section can like explain it for me, because it's not like they have an overabundance of weaknesses to any one type, but it's just like the overlap is just prevalent to the point where it somehow gives me stress. It's a very uninteresting fight though. After beating them, the rival notes how they've caught a lot of Pokemon, despite only ever showing 4 unique team members. They finish this cutscene by saying, while you're collecting badges, I'm going to work on my Pokedex. After this, we never battle the rival again, and we only see them if we go out of our way in Little Root Town. Here, they'll basically just make note that they're working on their Pokedex. And as crazy as it is to say, that is it. That is the Gen 3 Hoenns main rival storyline arc. Part 2. The real rival. Now, all is not quite as bad as it may seem, for a lot of this was done intentionally. And that's because there's another character in the game named Wally, and he is basically your true rival. So the plot points and the team building of the main rival were done for a reason, but unfortunately, as we're going to see, Wally's storyline is fumbled just as hard as the main rivals. He starts the game as a sick boy that is helped by the player to catch his first Pokemon, a Ralts. We later battle an extremely weak Wally in Mauville City, and then don't see him all the way until Victory Victory Road, where he pulls out a genuinely solid team of 5. And this whole arc is meant to coincide along the main rival's arc to sort of set up a subversion trope. And I will concede that the idea the story writers were going for is actually amazing. The game sets you up to expect a very similar experience to the 2 previous games. While the personalities of the rival differ, the main elements that go into a rival are the exact same. They get the stronger starter to ours, they head off on their journey at the same time as us, and occasionally battle us throughout our league challenge. It's so similar that it really makes you think you know exactly what's going to happen. This is of course all set up for the twist that the main rival actually doesn't have the spark for battling. And after our experience with competitive rivals Blue and Silver, this is a genuinely great attempt at subversion. You think they're going to be just like your last 2 rivals except friendly, but instead they decide to go on and complete their Pokedex. But that's not all, they then take it one step further. They take the little sickly kid from Petalburg, the kid who you thought was just the catching tutorial, and they make him the actual rival of the game. With nothing but the context of Generation 1 and 2 Pokemon, this is like genuinely a genius place to go for a new generation of Pokemon. Even more so, it solidifies to players what being a trainer is all about. While he doesn't come from a special family or have a unique set of talents, he simply finds the spark for battling, and that's what carries him to become great. Wally's journey is one of an unwed child whose passion in a newfound hobby propels him to find a sense of fulfillment in life. And when you contrast this to your expected rival, you can clearly see the devs had an incredible vision. So the question then needs to be asked, why doesn't it work? Part 3. Rival fixes. The main problem with the rival storylines is that they both revolve a lot around personal growth, but there are no details ever explicitly stated to show that personal growth. When the main rival leaves after the Lily Cove encounter, there is no note to suggest that this is the end of their battling journey. After Lily Cove, they just say they're gonna head back home, and that's all we hear from them unless we go out of our way to find more. The Lily Cove encounter simply fails to deliver as a conclusive moment for the rival, and because it isn't noteworthy, the player doesn't think that this is the end of their journey. You're expecting another battle from them, but instead, they just kind of absently fade from the story with no explanation or satisfying resolution. So, our changes to the storyline beats that already exist are going to be pretty small in scale. We'll really only be adding minor dialogue changes to better emphasize the path the rival is heading towards. They'll still begin with a desire to battle you, but over the course of the game, it will become more obvious that the real interest lies in catching and studying Pokemon. In order for them to reach that satisfying conclusion though, we need to add another event. After finishing the legendary event and getting the 8th badge, the rival will approach the player in Pseudopolis. Rather than asking for a battle, however, this cutscene will show the rival saying how impressed they are with the player. In this, they'll finally acknowledge that they simply don't have the drive to become a top-tier trainer. They'll also mention that their real passion lies in becoming a Pokemon professor. And so really, all we're doing is just giving a conclusion to the rival's arc. It's not that crazy, but man, does it make things feel better. This alone, though, is still not enough to elevate Wally's story, as Wally's big issue is really just not enough screen time. The big change we're gonna make for Wally is adding in a fight in Petalburg right before fighting your dad. And I think this is the perfect location for a second fight because it gives a sort of circular conclusion to the first half of Wally's journey. He catches his first Pokemon here, and then 4 badges later, we now see he's serious about battling. And Wally's team of 3 here is built very intentionally to show him just starting to come into his own, but not posing a major threat just yet. This placement also works nice because it leaves enough space for the fight in Victory Road to still show a massive improvement. I also think it makes his final fight feel more organic as you're more easily able to fill in the gaps of his journey. Like, it's a lot to go from 1 level 16 Ralts to like E4 ready. And while we certainly could have added another fight after Petalburg, I actually think this would negatively affect the shock his glow up would have. 4 scenes and 3 battles is the perfect complement to tie into the main rival. We now get to see Wally as a non-trainer in Petalburg, a bad trainer in Mauville, a decent trainer in Petalburg 2, and then an absolute monster once again in Victory Road. Part 4. Team changes. The biggest changes we'll see will of course be to the main rival's team. I don't know about you guys, but to me, the Gen 3 rival has no identity with any Pokemon. Like, they have a varying team of 4, and not a single one of those Pokemon ever feels tied to that character, which is unfortunate for the main game, but for the purpose of fixing it, actually gives us a lot of creative control over making them better. I should also note that while the Rivals team will change based on your starter selection, gender will not impact the roster. The replayability of 3 unique teams has always been nice, but we found that giving May and Brendan unique teams really only bloats the game. So to begin, in Rustboro, the Rival is going to make one unique, distinctly different catch from the base game, and that is Spoink. Outside of Clamperl, Spoink may be the most forgotten Pokemon in Hoenn, so we decided to give it some love in a big way. Spoink can be caught on Route 116 now, and it's the perfect first ad for the Rival. Spoink is significantly more unique than what the Rival previously had here, so it also helps to begin highlighting their interest in rare Pokemon. Next, on Route 110, the team is going to grow by 1. The Combuskenly team will add Wailmer, which is a Rival classic from Ruby and Sapphire that I've always missed. The Marshtomp team will add Shroomish, which once evolved into Breloom makes one of Hoenn's most iconic duos. And finally, the Grovyle team is actually going to get Torkoal. Part of it is because the Rival did previously kind of have a Torkoal mistakenly, but this is also because the decision to keep Torkoal off Magma teams has left it heavily underutilized. Now, while slightly unconventional, this 2/3 Elemental Core team will show the Rival trying to be a serious trainer. It's in the 4th fight that we see the true colors come out as they add a Kecleon. Now, given that this is right before the Kecleon event with Steven, this will help show them honing their skills at finding rare Pokemon. I always found like the Kecleon event was super random, so I feel like at least in giving the Rival a Kecleon, which is at the time a Pokemon you haven't seen yet, it should serve as this moment of like, whoa, the Rival's really going out of their way to get rare Pokemon. And so that should then also hopefully make the Steven event feel a little more significant. Anyway, finally, Rival 5 is really going to show their true divergence, with 1 different unique ad for each team. All 3 of these Pokemon will be from the Safari Zone to further show their interest in discovering rare Pokemon. The what is now a fully evolved Blaziken team will pick up a Donphan. The Sceptile team will pick up a Heracross, which is not just cool, but gives all 3 Rival teams a fighting type. And lastly, the Swampert lead team will pick up a Pinsir, which is a Pokemon that deserves some love, but also the only other Safari Zone options that weren't Xatu and Girafarig, 2 overlapping psychics. This fight will be decent, but it shouldn't pose a serious challenge, and this is intentional both to solidify the Rival's arc and prop up Wally's final fight. Also, I think it's fair to say that this team looks a little non-cohesive. It to me still doesn't feel like a final Rival team, quite in the way that Blue really shows himself like solidifying and just making this crack team with like the triple elemental, all that sort of stuff. It starts with interest and then kind of just slowly evolves into like, I like finding rare Pokemon. That's what we're going for. We certainly could make the Rival super hard, but that would go entirely against the storyline, and then that would just make everything stupid. So that's what we did. Now, Wally's fight in Victory Road won't actually look too different from the base, but I should note that it has been drastically tuned. Jumping off the main Rivals team of 5 in Lilycove, first and foremost, Wally will be given access to a full team of 6. In fact, Wally isn't losing a single one of his Pokemon here, not even Magneton, which does not fit his vibe at all. That, however, is for post-game discussion in our final release video. Wally's Delcatty is now going to lead holding leftovers, and Double Edge has replaced Assist to let it now hit like a truck. Sharpbeak Altaria's big upgrade will be swapping Safeguard for Earthquake to take advantage of its Dragon Dance. This is a combo straight from Winona to show Wally learning from those he's fought. His Roselia has really just been tuned. It'll have a Person Berry with Petal Dance, Leech Seed, Sludge Bomb, and Toxic. Magneton is great for his team and will do what Magneton always does, but we've added in a Focus Band to just help with that 4x weakness. Second last, his Ace Gardevoir will be given Thunderbolt, Psychic, and Calm Mind to sort of mirror the most popular set for actual players. And lastly, we're giving Wally an Azumarill. The Azumarill line is shown so often in this game on side trainers and yet has no major fight. It may not have the fairy type, but it fits his vibe so well and just really deserves a feature and is honestly just a perfect 6th addition to his team. Now, if you want to be entered to win a copy of Pokemon Emerald Legacy, all you have to do is subscribe to the channel and comment down below what you think we should do for the Rival as post-game fights. Thank you so much for watching, my beautiful End gang, and I'll see you later. Peace. And once again, make sure to check out FlexiSpot's E7 standing desk from the top link in the description.